Yo, what's up, guys? Main here. Wanted to get an update for you. It's been a week since we had this mass casualty, mass liquidation event in crypto. Now no one knows what's going to happen next. Everyone seems to be uncertain. Was that the top? Is it over? What we know for sure is a lot of people got wiped out. The final number, I don't even know what it is, like $20 billion in liquidations. That being said, Bitcoin and ETH didn't really drop that much. Right? So really it's the altcoin traders and the leverage traders who got ruined. If you've been following along in my Telegram, YouTube videos, or even my tweets over the last few days, and obviously over the last few years, you know how important it is to be careful with leverage and why spot, especially with some of these altcoins, is a way better instrument to use, especially if you don't know what you're doing with leverage. So we're not going to beat a dead horse here. Everyone wants to know what's going to happen next. So not a lot of people have been willing to bull post. Market keeps going down. Prices keep dropping. People's biases keep flipping from bullish to bearish. I've been pretty consistently bullish this entire time. And I'm going to explain to you my thought process as to why and what I think is going to happen next. So we're going to cover just Bitcoin and ETH, okay? Because this is going to be a relatively quick video. But I'm still operating under the same assumption that I made when we had this dump here. That this is our weekly structure here. And our weekly structure is still bullish. So long as we do not get a close below this 98K level on the weekly, I'm going to assume this is a pullback. And even though we had this massive liquidation event and now we're filling in some of that wick, we're still just trading above this low and above that key structure point. Okay? So I'm going to assume that we're still bullish on Bitcoin. That's my bias, and that's what I'm framing my trades on, and I'm going to get a little deeper into some other things I think of as well shortly here. Now, in terms of what's happening on the low time frame, we've got this big trading range here. We took out the range high. We've now taken out the low, and then we pumped, and now we're pulling back. Generally, with these Dalai Lama patterns that you see here, right, everyone expects this, but this is not impossible to Dalai Lama. I think really what we're seeing here, and I talked about wanting to be bullish on a wick fill, right, which is what we're getting right now, is you get this kind of initial bounce. What happened here on this day? Okay, this is Saturday, Sunday, right? So we had the big dump on Friday, then Saturday, Sunday we pumped. Bitcoin was back at 115. ETH was back at 4,000. What happened? Everyone got bullish again. Right? Everyone started piling in long, send this thing back to fucking new highs. And we might have, but what I said and what I still thought could be a possibility is we get some sort of wick fill. And that seems to be the case, right? You get all these people to get in long, liquidate them again. We saw another massive round of liquidations. A little bit of a bounce, get them to long again, liquidate them again. Now, are we done? Are we going to have one more leg down, or is this finally it? I'm still of the mindset that this resolves like this. The question is it going to resolve like this from right here? Or are we going to take out this low or even ultimately that weekly low at 98K, but still close above and then get the bounce? So what the issue many of you are going to have is you're trading with leverage. I see people all over the timeline freaking the fuck out, right? Because they long this bounce, price is down, 5% from their entry, maybe a little bit more, and they're like in agony. And it's like, dude, what's going on? Well, they're in massive leverage trades where if price goes 1, 2, 3, 5% against you, they're completely ruined. They're completely wrecked. Whereas if you said, hey, you know what? I think that this dip is a buy. I'm going to nibble some spot on Bitcoin, some spot on some of these altcoins. You're not going to be as concerned if price drops another 2, 3, 4% because you can buy a little bit more, you can average down, and ultimately you're in spot. So you're not at risk of liquidation. So that was what I told everyone I planned on doing, and my game plan is focus on spot here, because the issue with leverage, especially after moves like this, is you got to be very precise. If you're using a lot of leverage and price is gonna do this, but first it does this, that little down move might be enough to get you out of your position, liquidate you, stop you out, and then you miss the move even though you were directionally correct. So that's what you got to be very careful with. So I'm sticking with my bias that this is still bullish for Bitcoin. So long as we don't get a weekly close below here, 98,000, I'm going to assume we go higher. and the cycle is not over. We still make a new all-time high, 150,000 plus on Bitcoin, 6,000 plus on ETH, okay? I've been very clear, very straightforward about this for months now. Even before this event, back here, the top is not in, okay? I still think the top happens later in Q4. Now, what is another piece of evidence that I have that makes me believe that this is still going to play out? Well, it's actually the gold chart. Now, I posted about gold yesterday. I said the top on gold is near. I'm not interested in standing in front of a moving train and trying to short gold. No interest in that. I'll let the market tell me when it's topped. But I do think that the gold rally is coming to an end and that Bitcoin versus gold is nearing a bottom. So if you look at this chart here, Bitcoin USD, and then we divide it by gold, okay? You now get an invalid symbol. If you go Bitcoin USD and you divide it by XAU USD, you get Bitcoin versus gold. Now imagine this chart is Bitcoin versus ETH, or ETH versus Bitcoin, okay? So if this chart is bullish, ETH is outperforming Bitcoin. If it's bearish, right, Bitcoin is outperforming ETH. Well, if this is Bitcoin over gold, okay, if this chart is bullish, Bitcoin is outperforming. If it's bearish, gold's outperforming. Well, what has Peter Schiff been doing? He's been creaming his fucking shorts because gold has been kicking the shit out of Bitcoin for the last 2.5, 3 months, and he's been right. That being said, if you zoom out, I would argue to say that Bitcoin's been absolutely dog-walking gold since its inception, and Peter's an idiot, but that's besides the point. Right now, gold has demonstrably been outperforming Bitcoin. That being said, I do believe that this outperformance is coming to an end. And I think I'm one of the first people to point this out on Twitter. You're going to see a lot of people parrot this point after I had posted this chart. But it is what it is. You know your boy's always first. And if he's not, he'll pretend like he was anyways, obviously. I do think that this is at an interesting place. We have this monthly demand here. Pushed up, broke that high. We came back, we tagged it, and we put a low right there. We've now run that low. I would not be surprised if this monthly candle ends up closing with a wick, and this ends up being an SFP. Oh, man, you can't do TA on some cross-market pair that you made up. Yes, I fucking can. I just did. So if this closes as a monthly SFP, it doesn't have to, but if it does, that's just going to further my confidence in this idea that this chart is about to bounce relatively hard. I think Bitcoin gold is about to bounce, which means I think Bitcoin is going to now outperform gold. Even more evidence of this being true is if you actually look at Bitcoin versus gold, they actually have a very interesting relationship in that they are relatively lockstep. Okay, and what I mean by this is when Bitcoin moves, it usually is preceding a gold move. And it might not seem that way. Everyone wants to always try and be like, okay, well, Bitcoin's following gold and that's following stocks. It follows gold quite closely. Okay, and if you actually look here, when Bitcoin was bottoming here, okay, what was gold doing? Right, so Bitcoin's bottoming right here. Gold is already rallying. And then when gold consolidates, guess what? Now Bitcoin starts its rally. Okay, and this is not just a coincidence. This happens over and over and over again here. Bitcoin consolidating, people calling for the top on crypto. Oh my God, the bull market's over. Gold is ripping. Why isn't Bitcoin ripping? Bitcoin's going sideways here. Look what gold is doing. It's marking up. And then what happens? Gold consolidates. Bitcoin fucking rips. Now we're seeing gold consolidate. Right? Bitcoin ripped. Now we're seeing Bitcoin consolidate while gold is ripping. So what comes next, in my opinion, my expert opinion, of course, is that this rally is coming to an end and it's going to pull back and consolidate. And while that happens, Bitcoin is going to catch up and it's going to have its next leg. My prediction is that we see this play out over the next month at most. I expect Bitcoin to be trading north of 150K if it's going to follow this pattern, and if the TA, like I'm analyzing it, plays out how I think it could, we're going to be seeing 150K Bitcoin in the month of November. It could be the start of November, it could be near the end of November, but within the next month, basically, is my prediction for Bitcoin to stop dicking around and rally based on this analysis of Bitcoin versus gold bottoming out, Bitcoin following gold by a few, weeks to months in terms of when it rallies. Gold goes, the Bitcoin goes, gold goes, the Bitcoin goes, and then just the Bitcoin chart and the gold chart on their own, where this rally is getting long in the tooth. I'm not going to stand in front of it and try and short, but this parabolic leg is going to end sooner than later, in my opinion, and that's going to set the stage for Bitcoin taking the front seat again, and me plopping my nutsack on Peter Schiff's forehead and just fucking letting it hang, dragging my nuts down to his chin. Okay? So that's the game plan for me. I'm bullish. I've been bullish. A bunch of other people, they're flip-flopping. They don't know what the fuck's going on. I've been calling for a Q4, early Q1 2026 top for the markets for over a year now. Fucking 2 years at this point, saying the 4-year cycle is still alive. I don't think the top is in yet. I still think we go higher, and these are my reasonings why. And quite simply, on the Bitcoin chart alone and the monthly chart, I still think we're in an uptrend. Now, if we get a weekly close below 98K, I'm going to have to reevaluate my thoughts. I could be wrong. Maybe the top is in. I guess I don't have Pro on my laptop. I'm a brokey. We do have monthly demand here, and I do think that, we could buy this, and this could be where the higher low forms for the continuation of the uptrend. And you might say, well, man, you can't just keep buying, drawing a new support level below price. When you longed down here, and then here, and then here, and then you cashed out on the way up, I'm willing to take a few dip buys trying to catch the next higher low. Even if the top is in and I end up being wrong, I'm okay giving back a little at the end. I just don't want to give back at all by being gig-along leveraged altcoins. I've been taking profits. I've been telling you guys this. I did a video on it, right? So I'm willing to take these stabs. I still think I'm going to stick with weekly structure, but in theory, we could come down to this monthly OB. But in my opinion, if we're really strong, we should not lose that 100K, 98, 100K level on a weekly time frame. We shouldn't lose it. If we do, we need to reclaim it right away. I'm a lot less interested in being a buyer down here. I'm not saying I won't be, but that worries me a lot more. The structure looks more fucked. So I'm hoping that this weekly area is what holds, and we get this bounce, whether it's from here or a little lower, and we get that one more leg going into November, into December. That's it. That's my game plan. I hope it works out. I'll have another video for you guys, hopefully with a little bit more organized of a setup, Monday or Tuesday. Have a good weekend, everyone. As always, I love you. If you want to support your boy, breakout in the description. Use code MAIN. All my other bullshit. I'm doing a video soon on the IMG indicator, just an instructional video. But if you want to check out what it is, link below, ref links below, or you know the drill. Just tell me I'm handsome. All right, guys, have a good weekend. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Uh-oh, this is awkward. How do I stop the stream?